Hello and welcome back to another episode of Delusional Chaos, and this is the podcast where I dive into the weird yet wonderful layers of life. And today we are going to be talking about healing after chaos. And there are moments when everything that we've built, our peace, our plans, even our identity seems to collapse. But those moments aren't endings, they are invitations to rebuild differently. And I've been going through a phase at the moment of reflection and release lately, and I just wanted to share with you guys what that has been teaching me. So my first thing is that I'm my main priority, and this lesson has kind of come to me because I have grown up a bit of a people pleaser, and I think that's due to like my attachment styles and whatever. But I have always kind of searched for validation in other people, and that really affects my mood. So one thing that I've definitely realized recently is that when I'm focusing on myself, on my path, things seem a lot more, clearer, and I'm not as focused on other people, and that has definitely really helped me because it's just helped regain my, help me like recenter my, I don't know what it's called. Oh my goodness, I'm having a bit of a brain. It's like really helped me center, like, oh my god, it's like helped me recenter who I am as an individual, and it's helped me like put my priorities back into like where it should kind of be, in my opinion. And yeah, that's kind of just like one of my life lessons that I've learned recently. And another one is that in every experience there is a lesson. So I think I've talked about this quite a bit in my past podcasts or just like in videos of mine, but there is mostly a lesson out of like every experience that we're going through, whether that's reminding you of who you are and what your values are, or if, like, for example, say you met somebody and you kind of were shaping like how you would act to suit how they want you to act, if that makes any sense. And when you're doing that, you're obviously not abiding by your morals necessarily, or like sometimes you'll do things which pleases the other person which you wouldn't normally do, and that's obviously, it's like helping you realign with yourself. And yeah, that is an example. But to go into that further, there is always a lesson, because it can either teach you how to prevent that from happening again. Say, I don't know, something really bad happens and traumatic, you know the signs for next time. And yeah, I'm trying to change my perspective into there's always a lesson, and I'm just trying to like look at all the lessons in all of my experiences, and it definitely helps just reorganizing your thoughts. And I think sometimes when you struggle with mental illness or just overthinking, it's hard to pinpoint certain things and it can get very overwhelming. And yeah, that's really helped me. But another lesson that I've learned is that I don't need to fit or shape myself into someone else's ideals and values. And I've kind of already spoken a little bit about that, but the reason why I wrote it down again is because I think it's hard for me sometimes to actually set boundaries, and I think that's quite normal for everyone. Is like when you are a kid, you obviously have to just do what you're told, and then when you get older you're like fighting for yourself a bit more, or you know, when you have to start having more responsibilities. But it's like okay to have those boundaries, and it's okay to not have to do everything that everyone wants you to do just because. These are all like my personal like life lessons, so I just think if you're a similar person to me, then it's definitely about, you know, not fitting in and shaping myself to other people's opinions. But I do think that's quite like a normal thing, especially from like the people that I've spoken to about this. But another one is that healing isn't linear, and I have definitely spoken about this before, but this is a big life lesson for me, because when you are in the midst of having really rough time, you do feel like it's never gonna end, and you feel like, oh my goodness, like this is it, this is the end. And I think it's good to remind yourself that healing isn't linear, that it's not just gonna be this straight up, you're gonna feel sad and then you're gonna be happy forever. Just like life, it's just gonna go in waves, and I think it's hard to remind yourself that in those little like low moments, because you just think, I don't think this feeling's ever gonna go away, and that's just, you know, negative self-talk. But yeah, it's very real, and it's very, you know, good. I don't know. But I've also recently had like this massive realization that the people that come into my life and they leave my life, it's not a reflection on me all the time. I mean, there are things which I could have done to impact those, but in another way, it's usually the other person's like reflection of me, and I know myself and I know who I am, and their perception of me may not be right, but also it's about letting go of control of what they think. And I think it's been really hard for me in the past to like lose friends or lose people that I really care about, because I just thought that I'd never wanted you to leave my life, and it was really hard for me to like grieve those. But recently I do just think like whatever is meant to happen is meant to happen, and if these people aren't meant to be in my life, then that's for a reason. And I know the types of people that I want to surround myself with, and I know my values now. And I think people they come into your life to teach you something, and then they've left because they are meant to teach you something bigger, or you know, they're not aligned with who you are. And I think that's really hard to, you know, grasp. But I think at the moment I've definitely like come into my own, and I just really am like focused on me. And yeah, it's kind of fun and cute. But the next thing that I kind of want to talk about is about finding peace and light again after a really dark time. And I talked a little bit, I've done quite a few videos on, you know, how to help yourself a little bit more. And I definitely did in a previous podcast, I'm pretty sure, but I'm just going to talk a little bit about it again. And if you're new to listening, then, you know, you get to hear about this. But I have definitely learned about finding peace and finding like hope and light again is really dependent on the person. Like stuff that I have really found helpful for me have not really been that helpful for the other person, like for my best friend that I'm trying to give advice to. He's like struggling with a similar thing, but it's very important to find the thing that makes you get up in the morning, gives you motivation, makes you just de-stress after that. And I think there's different ways to do all of those things for yourself, but for me, I would say the way that I relax is, at the moment, I have been just letting myself take a break, because I think there's a lot of guilt, especially when you're growing up, of needing to constantly be doing something, constantly be working hard. And I do have guilt with slowing down and just taking a moment. So I have been taking a break, and I do struggle a little bit with like arthritis and like just body pains. So I have been also letting myself just lie there on the floor for like 15 minutes, half an hour, and just not thinking about anything, not touching anything, because that's a bit of a habit of mine as well, is I'm just constantly like needing to fiddle with something. So yeah, I have been letting myself just take those moments to myself. But another thing that I do is I try and take care of like myself by keeping up with like the little things, so like plucking my eyebrows, putting the moisturizer on, maybe doing a face mask. And at the moment, I'm definitely getting back into my Pilates, because obviously if you watch my previous, not obviously, if you watch my previous podcast, I tell the story of why I had a very traumatic time in my previous house, and I really struggled to keep up with just anything like eating, drinking, you know, all the rest of it. And that had a really big effect on my health. But now I am in somewhere which is a lot more safe for me and a lot better for me. And I need to get back into really taking care of myself. Pilates really does help, because especially with my anxiety, because it's all breath work and then I'm working out at the same time, so I'm getting a little bit toned, and I'm just, yeah, looking forward to getting back into that. And maybe I might start, you know, doing some Pilates videos, and if you want to see that, let me know in the comments, just because I think it'd be really fun. But yeah, let me know if you want to see that. And another thing that I do is I really go out into nature, and I just sit there and I breathe and try and focus on the little things that are around me, and I watch a little video and I just chill for a couple of hours. I make sure that I kind of do that like every day pretty much, which is probably why you see me outside in my videos, because I need that little moment to myself. Even if it's raining, I will just, sounds very strange, I will just go sit out there, because why not? Just sounds very strange, but yeah, it helps me, so that's what is the deal. And if I'm feeling really stressed, I mean, there's loads of little things that I do for myself. Like I'm trying to positively speak to myself at the same time as trying to slow myself down. And yeah, I just then journal quite a lot, because I would talk to people about it, but I do really struggle to reach out sometimes, because I do feel like a bit of a burden and I don't want to like overwhelm people, so I like to write it down. But I do need to go to a therapist probably, but that's a thing for another time, because therapy and the NHS and all of that, I mean, let me go into that in a minute, but it's hard out there. And I actually forgot where my original point was now. So we're going to go into the NHS and how hard it is to get mental health help in the UK. So I have had a lot of problems with my mental health since I was kind of 14. and that's just due to all of the little things that have gone on in my life that have really affected me. And I've always been a bit of a sensitive soul anyway, and I think I absorb a lot of energies of like other people or just the things going on around me. And I first tried to get help from the NHS when I was around 14, and they did put me on to, I think it was CAMS at the time, which, if you know about CAMS is a teenage or young person's counselling, I want to say company, but I don't know, team that help people, like help young individuals. I think it's under 18s in the UK, and it's a free service, but the waiting list is very ridiculous, as in you could be waiting for 6 months, and it's obviously not that great. And I'm sure there are a lot more companies out there now compared to when I first started struggling with it. But CAMS it was quite a pleasant experience for me. I didn't think it was that helpful though, because in the sessions they would kind of ask me about what was going on currently, and I didn't feel like it was necessary to really talk about what was going on currently, because at that age and at the level of like emotional intelligence I had, I thought that I kind of just wanted to get out the stuff that had just happened to me, and I didn't want to talk about now. I wanted to talk about the things that had happened, and I never really got the opportunity to do that because I was scared to talk about my emotions. And you know, I was young. I just stopped going to them because I thought, what's the point? And then I continued on struggling for many years. Like I've struggled a lot with self-harm. I've struggled a lot with just self-destruction behaviours and mental breakdowns, suicidal thoughts. I've had different various, like, not episodes, but developments with my mental health over the years, and it's definitely gone up and down since I was 14. And I did reach out to the doctors again multiple times actually before I actually got put on medication, because every time I would go to them they were like, you should go on medication, and I'm like, I do not want to go on medication. But I would end up speaking to, I think I spoke to Talkworks, and I spoke to Young Devon, Young Devon is more like a young adults counselling, whereas Talkworks is like an adults counselling. And I tried both CBT, which is cognitive behavioural therapy, and I tried normal counselling with Young Devon, and both of those things I didn't feel like were very necessary or very helpful. But after that I did get put on medication. So I take sertraline, which is, I think, either anti-anxiety or not anti-anxiety, I don't know. But basically, yeah, I got put on that, and it wasn't really fun, as you could tell. When I first started taking it, it felt so weird, and the first couple nights I genuinely felt I was on something. I did not feel right, and I was like, surely this is not normal. But everyone that I'd spoken to had said that they also felt the same. And in the summer, sertraline is not for the weak, because you are so dehydrated, because you need to drink like a lot of water with it anyway. And in the summer, when you are dehydrated, it's hot already, and then you've got sertraline, oh my goodness, like the worst headache, the worst dehydration. It's awful. But anything that you've got to do to keep your, you know, serotonin high. And if you don't know what serotonin is, it's, you know, the happy chemical that your brain releases, and that's basically what sertraline does. Is basically, it doesn't give it to you. I think it helps. I don't know, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to really go into it. I'm just talking about my personal experience. But in the UK, it is so hard to get therapy, especially if there is no proper counselling that's free unless you are really struggling. As in, I've been in some really dark places and I've reached out for help, and they've told me that I'm not even mentally unwell enough to get help, and I was literally having suicidal thoughts every hour. So that's the kind of level that you need to be on to kind of get mental health help, unless it's medication. But private in the UK is quite expensive, and from the people that I've seen have private mental health help in the UK, I think it definitely depends on the therapists themselves. That you really need to find your therapist. But for what it is and how much it is, I don't necessarily think it's as worth it. But yeah, that's just kind of my little deep dive into the mental health help in the UK. And I think that's definitely why I would love to start up a charity. I want to start multiple charities. So I'd like to help people in housing, people with mental health, but then I'd also love to do like an animal and dog shelter, or any kind of like animal shelter, because I love animals. I love dogs. Like, dogs for me, there's no smile on my face that's bigger than when I'm around a dog, and I just love all of them. They're just so cute, and you can see in my B&M haul with my dog that I just love my dog. Even right now, I'm just so passionate about dogs. And I love cats as well. I just think they're so cute. Like, my best friend has 6 cats now, and I am obsessed. Every time I go around to her house, it's like cat heaven. And I would just love to be able to help all the little animals that they've not done anything wrong. It's just they need a little bit of extra help, and I'd love to do that. But I also would definitely like to help out with housing and mental health and just other, you know, issues in life that people need that extra support through, because I think I have got some determination and I've got the experience-ish. I've been through a lot in these certain situations, and I think my advice-ish would be quite helpful. And that sounds really big-headed, but what I'm trying to say is I know that that's kind of what I want to go into and put my passion into, so I would like to make that a real thing one day. But yeah, it would be a lot better if in the UK or all around the world there was like more we could do other than putting people on medication for mental health. And same with housing and stuff. I would like for people in this country to be able to actually afford to live normally, especially after the, you know, whole recession. I don't know, I'm not very good at this sort of stuff, but I like talking about dogs and makeup and, you know, self-healing rather than politics and all the logistics of our country. But, you know, just going off basic knowledge. Don't want to, you know, offend anyone or get it wrong or misinform, even though that's literally what the internet's for. Not really. You know what I'm trying to say is TikTok, misinformation, you get it. But yeah, that is the end to today's podcast. And if you're listening and in a similar situation in your life where everything feels like it's kind of collapsing, and I just want you to know that this isn't the end. So you can definitely find your thing that makes you feel like things are getting less and less stressful for you, or helps you manage your anxieties and your worries and your overthinking a bit more. But I will definitely go into like a full video of not how to heal, but really like the biggest steps that you can take into helping manage your mental health. But I just wanted to encourage you to find that purpose and to find that inner strength and be in your rebuilding era. But my closing question for today is, what can I do for myself to make my life better? And I just wanted to leave you with that final closing question, because I want this podcast to be a very like self-reflective, but just trying to help people feel less alone in their worries, and just want to help and share my experience. So thank you for watching, and that is the end to the 6th episode of Delusional Chaos. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section below, and remember, you can like and subscribe for more content just like this. Until then, stay delusional, embrace the chaos, and I'll see you again for another episode. Bye.